to the Daft Souls podcast, episode number 16, I think. Today I'm joined by Keza.
Hello.
And Gwyn's.
Hello.
And of course, this week's episode is sponsored by Eggs.
Yes.
So what have you guys been playing?
I've been playing Magical World Dizzy, who is an egg.
I loved that game when I was very small.
Man, when I was
and now it's bad.
It's okay. It makes sense, which some, adventure games don't.
Which one?
I've had it on the Amiga. Wait, let me tell the story I was going to say.
Sorry.
When I was working for RPS, we had a day where everything was... April Fools. Rock, Paper, Shotgun's April Fools tend to be quite good. And we had one where basically it was like 2010 and we reported as if it was the year 2000.
Right.
And so everyone was talking about how this mod for Doom's just come out, like Quake. We don't think it'll be good though. And it was a really fun day of just posting stuff.
Yeah.
It was like a time capsule. It served a purpose. But I realised that, it was 20 years ago, I think. But I would have been like 5.5. So I wrote a review of Magical World Dizzy as a 5.5-year-old. And it was cute.
That's lovely.
It was. I really liked that article. I might have to go and read it when I get home. But the game isn't too bad. I finished it as a kid, which is a nice thing you can say.
Because the thing is, there are a bunch of Dizzy games, and I've only ever played one of them.
Yeah, Magical World is the one that isn't... Oh, wait. Kingdom something Dizzy. It was the one that wasn't a dickhead.
Well, you see, that's the thing is, I've heard that they're all a dickhead, really. But, I mean...
How is the egg a dickhead?
Well, the egg isn't a dickhead.
Okay.
Sorry, we've gone into meta game reviewing here.
Imagine...
The thing about Dizzy, it isn't the egg that's a dickhead. It's actually just the game.
One could say that Dizzy deserves what happens to him for his thought... No. But he gets attacked by bees. I remember that, being scared of the bees when I was a kid.
The one I remember was kind of like you had to collect items. It was a bit point and clicky in the fact that you had to collect items for puzzles. So you have to pay this guy with this, and there was a bit near the start where you had to like jump on a moving boat to get.
Yeah, that was the one I reviewed. Yeah, that's
Kingdom. It was fucking hard. Like
Fantasy Kingdom.
Did you see how spectacularly the Dizzy Kickstarter failed last year?
Yeah,
it did. So it turns out nobody cared. I thought that was quite. I never played Dizzy.
Well, what were they?
I didn't think it was a matter of nobody caring. I thought it was just massively mispitched.
Oh,
personally.
really? Because I wouldn't know. Not caring.
I mean, the thing was, it was just odd. It was like.
That's for a lot of money too.
They asked for a lot of money. They asked for £500,000, which is a lot of money.
I don't think any Dizzy game has ever cost that.
Or $500,000 maybe. That's the thing. That's the thing is basically I think a lot of these Kickstarters coming back is people want to modernise it, sure, but they still basically want to make the same thing again. And the scope of what the budget they want for it represents that.
Yeah.
That's why, with Tides of Numenera, the Planescape spiritual successor, they're like, hey, we want to make another one of those. You know what? It's going to be fucking expensive because we need to hire loads of really good writers and artists, and it takes loads of time. You go, fair enough. But with Dizzy, it's like, how long? Come on.
How hard is it?
I know back then it was probably quite hard to make a Dizzy game, but I reckon Game Maker. Give me an afternoon.
You could have a Dizzy jam, couldn't you? And if you had 10 devs making Dizzy over 24 hours, one of them would probably have a really functional.
The thing was, I think if it had just been the Oliver twins excitedly saying, you know what, we want to make a Dizzy game again. Give us 50 grand, and me and my brother are just going to go and make one again. And if it was pitched as being like, we're going to make one again, like the old days, it's just going to be us. It'll have better graphics and stuff.
And instead, they pitched it like they were pitching a publisher.
But then basically, I think because Blitz was not. If it is Blitz, I think it is.
Blitz died, yeah.
Yeah, because they weren't in a great place. I think that rather than it being about like, hey, we're bringing back this franchise, let's do it, it's going to be fun. It was more of a kind of like, I think they were treating it more as an ace up the sleeve, being like, well, let's get the Dizzy out. Let's get some money from Dizzy.
Yeah, it's like when I remember actually, you're reminding me of the Kickstarter, and it was pitched like you were talking to a man with lots of money in a boardroom, being like, "Here's all the cool new modern shit that we can do with it," and you don't need that with Kickstarter.
No.
Nobody cares about online multiplayer.
And it was very light. It was very light on the details and very heavy on the enthusiasm.
I love enthusiasm.
But they didn't come across that well on camera. They did come across as two guys in their kind of 40s, 50s, being like, "Oh, come on." Let's do it.
$500,000.
One of the Oliver twins asked a really embarrassing question at a conference I was at once, when there was a female MP standing up and basically saying, "You guys, seriously, your industry has no women employed. You need to work on this."
An MP, like a British.
Yeah, like a British member of Parliament. And she was basically like talking, because one of her things that she was doing was an initiative to get more women into science, tech, and engineering.
Okay.
So she was talking to this kind of assembled room of people who'd paid to come to a development conference.
Oh right, so she was talking to a group. I thought she was specifically picking on the Oliver twins.
No, but the Oliver twins.
Guys.
One of the Olivers was in the audience, and at the end of this talk that she did, where she was talking about ways to how it starts from school and reasons that women aren't in tech and so on, so on, so on. At the end of it, he put his hand up and was like, well, if any women had any of the skills, then I'm sure we'd hire them. And I was like, oh, dude, and it was funny. It was like pretty much all the women in the room.
Just step away.
Pretty much all the women in the room were journalists. So there were about 4 of us all sitting in a row, and all of us visibly bristled.
I would have loved if in the room had the response that we just had, where the whole room was,
Unfortunately, a few old men clapped, and I was like, oh Christ.
Well, they'll be dead
Can
soon.
you maybe think for more than 5 seconds about maybe why the women aren't coming to you? Like, maybe if you look at the Contact Us page on your website, it's full of old white men. Maybe that's why women don't feel like, cool, I'd love to come to you with my skills and expertise.
I generally don't like working in companies that are just full of old white men either, just because it's like, that's going to be boring.
It does explain why Dizzy was the whitest protagonist in all games, though.
You're insinuating now that they're
and
not
bald.
just...
And bald.
And bald. I tell you what, though, he was an egg, and I love eggs.
I love eggs.
Eggs are great.
Eggs
I've been playing eggs this week.
Fantastic.
No, I can't think of a segue to turn that into stuff I've actually been playing. That would have been elegant, though, if I had.
It would have.
Going back to Disney, though, I remember there was a bit, and I do remember it being very exciting. There was a bit towards the end of that game where you had to just like take a leap of faith because you climbed up really high.
Yeah, you go up a castle and then have to jump off,
and you jump off the castle and you land on the clouds, and there's heaven there, and
you get a harp.
You get a harp from St. Peter, who stood outside the gate of heaven. But I remember there was a jump back down where you had to just jump off the cloud, and it was like a leap of faith.
Yeah, you fell through,
like 5 screens, and then you landed on something soft. But it was like, if you got it wrong, then it was like... Because, I mean, like...
Games were cruel back then.
Basically, yeah. I mean, games back then used to revolve around death. Yeah.
What's okay about that particular game, though, is that adventure games these days are, like 12-hour things of, like, puzzling. And they were then, obviously. But Dizzy was just... I remember finishing that game in, like... 30 minutes, because it wasn't even know the path.
How good were you at games?
I know, I'd done the thing where when you're 10, you play a game and you go, oh, that's good, I'll play it again.
Yeah.
You finish it, and I'll play it again.
But that's the thing, is
my partner's 8-year-old has played all of the recent Spider-Man games about 300 times.
Oh my god.
It's just, I wish he'd play a good game.
Yeah, someone was telling me about their cousin, because, obviously, Minecraft's huge, especially among young people these days, and how... if they took his iPad away so he didn't play Minecraft, he just watched Minecraft on his computer, videos of Minecraft.
YouTube, yeah. This happens with that game as well. This happens with my nieces and nephews also. You take away the game and they'll just go and watch games on YouTube. It's like, what are we supposed to do? We can't take away everything.
I enjoy
just put them in a field.
I don't know. I mean, yeah.
You're imagining games. Stop it.
I mean, before I wasn't allowed a games console till I was about 9.
I was 7.
Because my parents were like, don't want a games console in the house. And in the end, they caved and gave me a Mega Drive. And God knows, maybe if they'd let me have one earlier, I wouldn't have become so obsessed with them. And wouldn't be here. Thanks, Mum and Dad. Maybe I'd have a proper job. But no, I remember I used to be really into like arts and crafts. And I used to love making like collages. I say collages. They were just like bits of fucking coloured paper. Cut out with scissors,
that's a collage.
stuck on paper. But then I got into trouble, and it was the only thing I really liked doing when I was a kid. I just liked making arts and crafts things. And a punishment, basically, was my mum took the scissors off me. So I couldn't do my collages.
That is tragic.
And so, yeah.
That's ice cold. Like, doing that creative thing.
Well, I guess it's hard to punish kids. When
Watch television.
Even if the only thing they like doing is really creative. If you feel you need to punish them somehow, then you have to do something.
My mum used to take away my books. Because I was always too kind of the book.
But it's quite nice because I remember
she took away my Narnia collection.
Yeah.
And I was halfway through the Narnia books. I was like on book 3 and she took like the whole collection away. I was so desperate to know what happened in book 4.
Did you never get them back?
I did get them back after.
Your mum's like an evil library.
She rents them out to other children now.
You must finish this copy of Super Mario 3 to get your books back.
Yeah.
I think I stoically just got around it then I made a collage just by ripping up pieces of paper and sticking them.
That is defiance.
Man, I really hope that one day I'm a parent who still knows enough about games to be like, oh, you like Minecraft, do you? And you broke this, painting. Well, I'll tell you what, I don't know why I have paintings in my head in the future. I don't have any paintings
this
now.
Gilded frame.
I don't know why my kid is breaking it.
How dare you break this gilded frame?
You could teleport an 8-year-old child into this room right now and tell me he's my genetic son, and I would not be able to tell him shit about Minecraft. Like, don't get me wrong,
I know quite
a
lot now because of my partner's 8-year-old.
How much do you know, really? I mean,
well, not as much as he does.
All I'm saying is,
he knows just
the punishment would be like.
Because I think I know about it, but I don't have a fucking clue.
Oh, this joke's not going to work if you don't know anything about Minecraft. But it's going to be like if you bring me like 10 redstone. Or something because the joke is, Matt, the redstone is the single rarest thing in different. It's probably not anymore, is it?
But it's probably not. I mean, it's changed.
This is the problem. I knew a lot about Minecraft 2 years ago when I was introducing this kid to it, But now, since then, it's got there's horses in it now. And he keeps coming back every time I see him. He's like, Keza, have you heard about the new thing in this patch? Have you heard about the new slime balls? And I'm like, what? He just watches. He sits and watches YouTube videos about.
I got blown away by
everything.
there being like, oh yeah, there are like things that spawn monsters and
the dungeons,
treasure chests.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the dungeons.
Fuck.
Well, you had a cave. Excuse me. Before.
I know, but I never really understood any of it. The thing is,
The nether fortresses are cool.
my favourite bit of Minecraft, and I've probably said this before, but my favourite bit of Minecraft is launching it up, looking at where you are, pottering about for 5 minutes, knocking down a tree, building a wooden hut, going to sleep.
Yeah,
and then going and then doing a bit of mining. And I lose interest after that. But it's for me, it's the thrill of a new world.
Survival, yeah.
It's the thrill of a new world, make a house, make a home. And then I can't be bothered. Like, I like that bit, but I love the atmosphere. But then when we had the OXM thing, we had OXM Land, I think it was called, or something. And
like a private server.
Yeah,
I remember. It was fucking mental. We created it was like I had this madcap idea, and I was like, Johnsy, can we do this? And he's just like, that sounds insane, Matt. I'm like, I know, but I think it might work. It was proper like MacGyver shit. It was like when it came out on the Xbox, I sort of realised that if we created an Xbox Live Gold account that was running Minecraft and made it so people could make friends with it, and then we just kept the Xbox switched on for 24 hours a day because we worked in an office. Because if you tried to do it at home, somebody'd be like, no, you're not leaving it switched on for 24 hours a day. But because we worked in an office, we kind of could.
That was the function. So you invented functionality for persistent servers.
We basically created a server.
We basically created a server just by leaving an Xbox on, and admittedly, like there were problems with that. Like I think it did crash like overnight a few times. And we lost a bit of progress. But it was kind of cool because it meant...
Progress towards what?
Well, the thing is, loads of people were coming and playing.
Yeah, sure. I just didn't know if you had like... Johnson, I have this idea. We're going to build a fortress. We're going to build a journalism thing.
We did
make the magazine for
We're
us.
going to build a working Xbox.
We did
the Xbox.
No, there was no aim. It was the launch of Minecraft on OXM, and I kind of had the idea that we're like, well, we can create this server, and then we can let people come into it, and then we can make a feature app for the Mac, so we can have like our diaries within the place. And it was really cool because it meant like we had like in the mag feature, it was like over a space of a week, just talking and documenting about how it evolved and the things that had happened. And obviously there were lots of fires, lots of arsonists on the first night, and it was like the first day was mental. People built all these incredible things, and then the night of the first day, everything burnt to the ground. But then it was rebuilt better and out of stone, and it was kind of amazing. Actually, that was when Joe Screbbles, who's also you might probably know from the podcast, he was working as a work experience for OXM. This is before he got a job at O&M. But he was really, really fucking good, which is why he got a job. But that was the first job I gave him, was like, just sort of, can you moderate for the first day? So basically it started off, he made the panopticon, he made the OXM panopticon, which was this glass tower looking down and everything else, keeping an eye on everyone, sort of turned it into this dictator state. But it was mad. But I can't get my head around it. When people have been like, hey, look, we want to show you this, we want to show you what we've made, and they'd show me these like elaborate things that they like machines, you press this button, you do all this stuff, and I'm just like, I don't have a fucking clue. I don't have a clue how you've done that. I cannot, and I'd look at it and I just wouldn't be able to work it out. I'd be like, I don't know how it works.
Yeah, I get what you mean about there being a limited attention span thing going on with Minecraft. I mean, for me, when I started playing it, basically I got into Minecraft in order to not have to look at the stupid Spider-Man game ever again, because it's my partner's son was just
obsessed with it.
He honestly played Web of Shadows about 40 times. Just continue. It's not even good.
I know, but somebody somewhere, probably at Beanox or Activision, is going,
yeah, seriously, he's spent 380 hours on that game. So congratulations.
You know what's creepy though? That probably happens to all games. All games have a what's the son's name?
Spencer.
Every game has a Spencer.
Yeah.
Who's gonna find
every single thing. But even like the terrible movie tie-ins, there's a Spider-Man game that came out when Spider-Man 3 came out that's barely functional. He didn't actually finish it because it's literally too bad to even play. So he got his long-suffering father to play through this.
Wow,
unbelievable.
That's harsh.
So I basically introduced him to Minecraft in order to just stop the madness. And I was like, right, we're going to play this. He's like, oh, I don't want to. No, we're going to play this. And we started out, and it was amazing because I knew much more than he did. And he was like, oh, how do I do this? How do I play? Can we make a boat? Can we go on the sea?
We can make a boat.
I was like, sure, we can make a boat. And we were like exploring together, and I was like building a house, and I'm like, we've got a house, I'm going to make us a bed. And he was like, wow, this is awesome. And then unfortunately he discovered creative mode, and suddenly he just lost interest in building anything that you had to work
really,
for.
with your hands. My favourite bit of the story is you said, it was awesome introducing this child to a cool game till he knew more than me. Wanker.
It did stop being fun though, because then in
prick.
creative mode, he'd just be like, because I'd be like, well, why don't we, work and find some diamonds underground? He's like, why would we do that? There's some right here in this menu.
I get that though.
Yeah, well, that kind of ruined it for me, because the whole thing about Minecraft is working for stuff and working for shelter and
Well, it's funny you say that because Notch's the thing Notch was working on as a coder before Minecraft was a game called Worm Online, or this is one of his projects, I guess. But Worm Online was a persistent MMO which had terrain deformation. Like, I've written so much about it for RPS, and it was essentially like a Dark Age MMO where you spawn and the first thing you need is a clay bowl. So you have to go and find some clay and make a bowl out of it so you can carry water so you don't die of thirst.
Interesting.
But the funny thing is about that is, like, you could build a mine, same as Minecraft. In a lot of ways it was Minecraft, but there is stuff about how the lead designer on that game was like, no, everything has to be real, it has to be difficult, it has to be work. So, I remember a winter I spent with, our friend Egg, and he was
not affiliated.
Not actually affiliated with Egg, although he's a fine man. Yeah. And I've seen him enjoy eggs. In fact, he bought a Tefal toast and egg machine.
Who wouldn't?
He did do that, yeah.
Actually, it doesn't have to be Tefal, but just anything to do with eggs, do it.
So Egg, I remember digging a mine. We needed some iron because we wanted a sword, and and he spent something like 7 real life hours mining because it was meant to be plausible.
Oh my God.
And apparently Notch, and this is all sort of like scuttlebutt, but Notch was like, why can't we just make it easier to build and people can build anything they want? And the guy was like, no, the MMO has to be a simulation. So it's funny that you're saying like, but Minecraft needs...
there are limits, though. There are limits.
But everyone's limit is different, and kids especially are going to want to play it as Lego.
But I think it's funny. Minecraft is very much, and I don't mean this in a demeaning way.
Stuff up with TNT.
I don't mean this in a demeaning way, because I actually offended a bunch of people last time by mentioning that I said that something was clearly aimed for kids, and loads of people got really offended.
Oh, really?
Because I forget that a lot of people are still in that age group where that is seen to be a kind of...
Oh, that's not at all an insult. I know. Nintendo games are aimed at kids. But I love them.
You kind of forget, don't you? Because now I don't know anybody...
when you're 17 years old for children, not for kids.
Yeah, I forget people are sensitive about that at a certain age, and I was very sensitive. But now I just sort of think like you get to a certain point where you suddenly become an adult, and more than anything, you just want to be a kid forever. Yeah. And the idea of trying to push that away from you is just madness. Why would you do that? Why would you try to embrace the abyss?
You just want to be an adult.
All I wanted to be was an adult my whole time when I was a child, and now I'm like, I wasted that whole time. Yeah.
I'm kind of looking forward to being an elderly, horrible man, like 50 years old, just
purple velvet jacket.
Yeah, everything sort of like to do with my body's behind me. Don't care. Play games. Beard.
But I was going to say there are limits to like the whole like wanting to be a kid thing. And when I first played Minecraft, I remember I spent about 7 hours and I built a tower that was going to be... In my head, I was originally, this will just be the corner tower for my castle. It took me a whole day. And it was going to be, if I'd finished it, it would have been a massive castle. But it was just that thing of me stopping and being like, I can't do this. Like, I've passed the point in my life when I can do this.
Yeah,
and it was sort of thing where I thought, if I discovered this when I was like younger, I would have like adored it.
Yeah.
But that time in my life is gone now and I can't do this.
I often think sometimes, especially when I'm looking at new games that people are showing me that aren't out yet, and they show me like some, especially with MOBAs, I get this, and with other things, and it's just like, oh, you can do all this stuff, and I always think, who has the time? And then I remember teenagers have all the time in the world for this stuff. And that's why they get that's why they get so amazing at games.
MOBAs are really like easy to get into though in a way, because it's like, well, every game only lasts about 30-40 minutes. You can be like, I could just play a game. I could just play one game, and one game turns into 4, and before you know it, I mean, like, I clocked 1,000 hours on those 2, and I had the awkward thing yesterday. Somebody on Steam was like,
1,000 hours.
Hey man, you want a game? Want a game, man? You want to come play a game? And I'm like, no, I'm all right at the moment. He's like, why do you want to play a game? You want to come play some Dota? Come on, it'll be fun. I'm like, no, I'm fine. I'm fine, thanks.
And were you strong?
I'm taking a break. I was, yeah. I'm actually coming close to thinking about installing it just to stop the
God.
Yeah.
Well, why haven't you uninstalled? In case of
Did you stop? Did you cut off?
No, I stopped because I wasn't enjoying it that much anymore. But that's partially because Dota for me was not fun when I lost. Like, it's that really browbeating thing. Yeah. And actually, I've reached a similar point with Netrunner. Like, Matt's quit Dota. Netrunner's a card game I'm really into, and I love the social scene in London. I made a lot of friends with it, but I'm going to take a break because I'm not playing anything else. And that was fine for me when I was really into it. But now I'm not enjoying it so much. It's like, this is just holding me back.
Yeah.
But as far as kids having time and YouTube and Let's Plays and all that stuff goes, I've been watching something recently which makes me realise, oh man, if I was a kid, I would love YouTube. And it's I'm looking at you, Keza, because you're more of a Japan focus. But Game Center CX,
Don't know it.
Oh, wow. Okay, so this is a Japanese... it's just a friend of mine lent it to me on DVD. Japanese reality show where they get a comedian who loves games and he's like 32 to just play a game which is really hard. And it's like sort of a NES game usually. Some awful fucking thing. Like, you know, he'll play Super Mario 3, but he'll also play SOS, which is essentially a game about escaping the Titanic after
SOS is so hard.
It's people think that those SOS games like started in like what
the
that
PS2
earthquake,
era.
The PS2 era with that earthquake game and the flood game.
Yeah.
But they actually go back to the SNES.
Yeah.
So all it is a guy playing these games.
Raw Danger.
Raw Danger.
That's what they were called. Thanks.
So
Thank
Matt,
you.
you've talked to me like you've pointed out how YouTube works and how to make money from Let's Plays. Really, you need to aim at
Yeah, I know
kids.
loads about that, man. I'm rolling in it. no, but that is true. Yeah.
Because of eggs.
So the interest,
Yeah.
the eggs.
Don't push it too hard, Keza. All right.
How many times have we mentioned eggs so far?
Enough. We've met the quota.
Okay.
Like,
So
I don't want people to think I've I don't want people to think I'm shelling out. That doesn't really work because shelling out is actually a phrase that means something else.
Yeah.
Carry on.
So Games Odyssey X is a window into a world where Let's Plays are not necessarily aimed at kids, and it's just really interesting. It's like you've got a film set and a group of people dedicated and like an editing team all trying to make this 32-year-old, quite funny man beating a game seem good, and it's the most watchable shit I've ever seen.
That sounds great. Send me a link.
Oh no, yeah, I'll send it. Well, I'll find out a way. I'll get
probably on Nico
give you a
Nico.
DVD.
Find a way.
I'll send you a link to the DVD. But yeah,
Probably on Nico Nico.
But no, that's a really tough thing actually, and it's something that I have since last year doing a little bit of stuff with some TV people. I had a bunch of people saying to me, "We want to do games on TV. We want to be," and the phrase I always get over and over again is, "We want it to be like Top Gear for games." And it's like,
no one
yeah,
wants that.
cool. Have we got a budget of millions? And they're like, no. It's like, well, we can't do it then.
Because Top Gear has
Top Gear
a
now
budget
is
of
just
millions.
money, basically. But it's also the fact that people, it's just so hard to try and work out a way of presenting games and presenting gameplay and people playing games to a mainstream audience that watch TV.
Yeah, it's all...
And it's to the point where it's like, there's no point. What's the point? Why would you go so hard to try and do this for people who don't care about it when you can just do it for people who do on the platform where they already are?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. It's trying to adapt a new thing into an old model.
Yeah,
really.
it's really hard, and it's like, what's the point?
Well, one of the things people don't get about Let's Plays, I'm sorry, I may have said this in the last podcast, sorry if I did, but I read a statistic about where teenagers get their games news from, and teenage boys get it from IGN, freaking Eurogamer, all that kind of, well, not Eurogamer, that's cherries, but the traditional game sites.
Yeah.
Girls get it from Tumblr, YouTube, and Twitter.
Huh.
They're not visiting any game sites.
it's as if the game sites are all targeted at men.
It's as if they're being somehow made to feel unwelcome by those game sites.
That.
But yeah, because that's interesting to me.
I guess that's one of the reasons why it kind of perpetuates the image that doesn't fit the stats.
Yeah,
there are loads of people who go,
yeah.
"Oh, girls don't play games." It's like, well, no, loads do.
They just don't read our websites.
We just don't know where they are.
Yeah, and it's really fascinating that, because I mean, it makes me feel like maybe we're failing teenage girls, like we're failing, which makes me feel bad because you want everyone to feel welcome on your website.
Of course.
But the interesting thing about that was looking at why girls choose places like Tumblr and YouTube. And for Tumblr, it's because that's a very female-dominated space, and the conversation tends to be very welcoming and safe space for women to talk. And most of the people on Tumblr are girls. And then on YouTube, I think that it's because some of these young teenage boys are just really cute. Like you look at PewDiePie and I'm like, yeah, to be honest, if I was 15 I would think he was adorable.
PewDiePie he's a fitty.
Yeah,
he definitely is.
He's very, I feel like a paedophile looking at him now, even though he's probably my age, but still.
He's about 24, 25.
God damn it, I thought he was a teenager.
No.
Yeesh.
He's got that My Chemical Romance thing.
But he's got like the sweep in it, and it's like he's the kind of boy that teenage girls find really, really cute and unthreatening as well.
Yeah, no, a friend of mine, she's like, she was, I have no idea how old she was, but she was really into One Direction. Then I saw her the next year, and she was really into some Minecraft YouTuber. But yeah, so that one piece of evidence supports your theory
completely.
So I choose to agree.
The thing that's interesting I find about Let's Play videos though, and this is something I've talked to you about already, I'm not sure if ever on a podcast or whatever, we've definitely talked about it in pubs, for example, but perhaps whilst eating Scotch eggs or something like that. But is the fact that obviously they really do reflect games.
Scotch eggs?
Yeah, no, Let's Plays.
Okay. I love Scotch eggs though.
They're fantastic. They're so good. I'm not so keen on the meat or the breadcrumbs, but they are basically, they really reflect games and the way games are made, and the fact that Let's Plays, and they are, and this was what I was going to say earlier, they are kind of generally very much aimed at children, and again, it's like if you're
that's fine.
If you're an adult who watches them and enjoys them and loves them, that's fine. That's not a problem. Just generally they are, because kids have a lot of free time. On a general scale, kids are the people with the most time because they haven't got jobs, the
Endless
fuckers, they don't pay bills.
I used to do all sorts of things when I was a teenager. I ran a website.
Let's not do this.
Let's not.
Terrible.
Let's not. I worked as a cleaner when I was a teen. Although I did work as a cleaner. No.
But it's the fact that like they are like Let's Plays are often huge quantities like of video. Like I found myself feeling guilty when I uploaded like a 2 hour of XCOM. I was like, oh god, and everyone was like, yes, 2 hours of XCOM. I'm like, how do you do this?
Man, I'll tell you what, my life has been. Sorry, were you?
But all I was going to say is the fact that like sometimes I think what I find interesting is sometimes a lot of games media people like kind of find the Let's Play thing really alien, and it makes a lot of games writers feel a bit like what the fuck is old, and also a bit like out of touch with what's going on. How are people sitting and watching 8 hours of footage? Yeah. But it's like this thing about like Let's Plays being primarily aimed at kids is that it's a reflection of games. Games are primarily aimed at children, and I love them, and because I'm a big kid. But it's the fact that like games are still generally very large. They're big, and they take a long time to complete, or you can play them for a very long time. And it's that thing of being like,
when you look at completion stats, and it's like 8% of people completed Skyrim. It's like, wow.
To be fair though, Skyrim is. I'm not going to say that word. But Skyrim's not really a game where they're like, let's carry the player through this clean thread to the finish line. Skyrim is almost a Minecraft thing. You climb up a hill and you go, and you run down the hill. And
I had the most fun doing the side things, although I found it a bit annoying how it's like after I'd achieved a couple of the major quests, I'd turn up in villages and people are like, who are you? And you're like, I'm the fucking Archmage, bitch. Well, who the fuck are you? Like, let me go and speak.
What was it? Winter? I want to say Winterfell, but obviously it wasn't that.
It kind of annoyed me how like you're just like you're renowned just reset. You'd be like, I've just done some mental stuff. I've been killing dragons. I'm an archmage. Like,
I became an archmage in 3 hours because I just really went for those quests.
It's like I've done like so much stuff.
Man, my story of how I ended up not playing Skyrim is to me at least heartbreaking. In that I knew I wanted a house. I was really excited to get a house. And often quite early on, I think you get a house given to you as soon as you become the Thane of whatever.
Yeah.
But that's not the house I wanted. And eventually I found a town that I really liked, the pretty one, the dwarven one that's built into the side of a cliff.
That's where I bought my house.
Yeah,
it's good real estate there.
It's good real estate. And I was like, save up my money, do the quest you need to do, buy a house. This was like 30, 40 hours into Skyrim. And I bought the house and I paid the dude, the interior decorator, to decorate it. And I'm like, right, now I'm going to do what I did in Morrowind and put special items all around. No. And then because I'm playing it on a console, I remember I tried to put a sword in a display case. And I turned and it just knocked everything off the shelf. And that doesn't reset. Like if you make a mess of your house, at least in the version I was playing, I hope I'm not wrong, but I just made a mess of my house.
They might have added that with the house thing that they made.
Yeah, I'm sure they have.
Save the state of your house.
But at the time with vanilla Skyrim, I sort of turned around, looked at my house,
Skyrim.
And it was a mess.
That's a pun waiting to happen.
And I just couldn't deal with it, and I turned off the game then because
I really pissed off Bethesda PR at the time because I kept basically, and this isn't really like, it's not my fault. Obviously, it's my fault. It's not my fault. It's not anyone's fault. It's definitely not the fault of Skyrim. Skyrim was a perfectly acceptable game. But at the time, I was just so in love with Dark Souls because it was the last thing I played, because they came out around the same time.
Yeah.
That I ended up just constantly kicking Skyrim. Whenever I wrote anything about Skyrim on OXM or on the bag, I'd always be like, Skyrim's alright. Obviously, it's a bit crap compared to Dark Souls.
Did you ever see
they got really annoyed.
The ridiculous...
Stop comparing the games.
Such different games.
I know.
Dark Souls cost actual money to make.
That became a bit of a meme on IGN when I was working there, because someone on IGN wrote an article called 10 Reasons Why Dark Souls Will Eat Skyrim's Face.
Yeah, I think it was a lot of people doing that.
Basically, every paragraph just had winner Dark Souls written at the bottom. That was a meme on IGN comments for about 2 years. Just people would just randomly come into comments about any game and go, winner Dark Souls.
That's the thing, I can totally appreciate their frustration because they're like, they're really different games. Stop comparing them.
Totally.
But it was just like, sorry. I mean,
Dark Souls
you were just in a hole.
It's like you just ruined all games for about 6 months.
Yeah, I mean, Demon Souls did that for me because I played that completely out of the blue because I basically found it in a Japanese game shop and I didn't know what it was, and I brought it home and it turned out to be fucking Demon Souls. So it did ruin games for me for ages, because every time I bought a game that I didn't know, I'd be like, maybe it'll be like Demon Souls, and it never was.
I tell you what, I keep thinking, because I think I've been drawn back in time by all of the OXM chat, but one of the weirdest things I used to have to do at OXM, I say have to do, it wasn't exactly like a massive chore or anything, it was quite fun most of the time, was we'd play with the readers on Xbox Live. So every month in the mag, we'd be like, we're going to play this game with you at this time. And it'd be the funny thing about, obviously, with magazines, you write them like weeks. You know, what you've written in mag is written about a month and a bit before it actually happens. So it would suddenly be out of nowhere. You get a reminder being like, oh yeah, you're playing this game with people tonight, like at this time. You're like, oh shit, am I? Okay. I need to find a copy of the game. And often you go and you end up playing like new releases. And if I don't review them, it's like, I haven't played this before. Sure, I'm going to go and play some Crisis or whatever. Like, and I wouldn't have a clue what I was doing. But some of the games were like, already a bit dead on the server side, and it was that thing we were saying earlier about how like every game will have some people who've just played it.
Yeah.
And I remember playing the Dead Space 2 multiplayer, and it was just weird because it was like the guys I was playing with were like nice enough, but the servers were so. Because usually it was the thing of like, OXM was a big mag, had a big circulation. You go online for these things. If it was like a Call of Duty night or a Battlefield night, you'd just be inundated with people saying, invite me, invite me, invite me. With this, it was just me and these two other guys.
That's a bit weird.
And it was like really quiet. And you got the impression there weren't many more people on the servers. It was just, it felt like there were about 8 people playing the multiplayer. This was a month after it came out as well. And it was bizarre. It was just me. And then there was 2 other guys. One guy didn't have voice chat. So it was just me just chatting to this one guy. Like, oh, how's it going? Yeah. I felt like I turned up at like a dogging evening or something. It was just like, just me and this guy doing this weird, dirty thing. Does anybody do this? Does anybody play the multiplayer of Dead Space 2?
I'm racking my brain trying to think of a time when I would have gone online and the servers would have been like that, because I must have played games like that, but I just can't remember.
We used to do a lot.
Crimson Skies was the first Xbox Live enabled multiplayer game, if I remember correctly. Certainly among the first. And I remember getting on the original Xbox, which was really shit, actually. Just the interface was awful. Trying to get Xbox Live to work on
it was hilarious.
Like my 56k
Oh man,
broadband.
Xbox Live, which had that glowing green globule in the background.
Yeah. And trying to get that to work with 56k, whatever it was, internet. And I remember getting 2 games of Crimson Skies going. And obviously the people who could be bothered to make Xbox Live work at that time, this was probably a year after Xbox Live had launched. And the people who could be bothered to get it to work were few and far between. So it was just basically 6 ace pilots and me. Like, they're spinning around upside down and like going sideways through mountains and shooting people like 400 meters away. And I'm just like,
really mastered the craft. But that's what I was saying. It was like the people I was playing, I was getting battered. The people I was playing Dead Space 2 multiplayer with had really mastered it. But it wasn't very good. It was like this really heartbreaking thing of I couldn't even be like, hey, this is a bit of a shit game, isn't it?
Oh yeah, because they really love
clearly been doing it. But it's like, this is not very good.
Man,
how have you done this so long?
I definitely remember the server I went on where it's just like, oh, you guys have been here for too long. Which was Ace of Spades, if you guys remember that. Or
I remember that game. It was like a Minecraft shooter.
It was Minecraft.
That was the horrible.
It's made by the guys who made RuneScape.
Was it?
Yeah, it was. Or at least published by them.
Did you play it?
No, it looked crap.
No, it was really good and really interesting.
Yeah, you could dig underneath your enemy base.
I mean, but the thing that you might be missing is that the rifles are all like one-shot kills if you get torso warheads. And again, this was the case when I was playing. But and it's just capture the flag. But then obviously it's the Minecraft engine. You have a shovel and you have a rifle. I think you have a grenade. And then you spawn. And so the first thing that happens is you dig trenches. You dig trenches on top of hills and you can look down. And the way that it changes the geography of the server is amazing. Because people realised that you can dig tunnels down, straight down, and then you dig in a horizontal, like right under the enemy flag, and you dig up. Then people realised there's a problem with this. And this is all stuff that I found out logging onto the server.
People like emerging from the ground.
Yeah, people emerge from the ground like in Gears of War.
Yeah.
But then obviously that's really dark because people have actually done that. And I've been to the tunnels in Vietnam and it's not cool, but this is a game that made it cool. And so if you steal the flag, right, and you go down in your tunnel and you've got a clean tunnel run back home. Problem there is that 2 things. First off, they can run down, shoot you up. So then you build sort of like sideways snakes into the tunnel so they can't see you, which is again clever. The other thing they can do is if they find your tunnel system, and again this really did happen in World War I, they can either destroy it or they can follow it right back to your base. So what people did, and this is when I joined the server and went, what the hell has been happening? It's like the Dead Space thing where you walk in and there's like blood on the walls and weird messages and you go, something dark has happened here. What would happen is underneath each flag would be a maze, like a proper adventure game style maze, because this is like Minecraft style graphics.
Oh.
And so
you had to know the way.
You have to know the way. But better than that, the dumb thing that my friends would teach me is, oh yeah, we build a really huge maze, but the exit is always the first step in the maze, you knock down the first wall on your left, and that leads to the correct tunnel out. So you ideally lead enemy players into the maze looking for an exit, but the exit's not there because it's one spot which you've built a dirt wall in. So the correct way out the maze is to go to that one spot, knock down the wall.
That's impossible. That reminds me of Castle Doctrine.
Yeah, I mean, but what
I really thought that game was shit.
I had a real problem with it. But,
no, it's fine. He didn't quite make it as I don't know. It wasn't like... It wasn't meant to be like a robust multiplayer game. It was partially an experiment.
I guess so. But...
Well, Castle Doctrine. So the problem with that game is that it's either not been thought through very well, or it's actually evil. Like a really horrible, horrible game. Because the thing that... So Castle Doctrine, for those who don't know, basically... It's a strange... it's made by the guy who made Passage, who's otherwise done some fine work.
Right, which does immediately make me think, this is meant to more be...
Yeah, it's a message game, but my problem with it is that the message... Either the message doesn't work or the message is genuinely evil.
I think the message is just shit. I think it's...
So basically, it's a game where you're a home, you're a dude, and you have to protect your wife and children, basically.
Yeah.
So you have a certain amount of money, and you build basically a maze in your house to hide your safe and your wife and children, right? And then your job is to basically entrap people with dogs and traps and stuff so that they die if they try and take your stuff. And then you're supposed to go to other people's house and get through their maze, basically, to get their stuff.
Yeah.
So you die all the time, and whenever you die, everything's reset. So that's frustrating just on a basic, it's not a very good game level. But the thing is, half your money is held by your wife. So the only way to get all the money is to kill people's wives for no reason.
Yeah.
And then I would continually come back home, and the safe would be robbed, the wife would be dead, and the kids would be dead too, just for the hell of it.
Yeah,
and the kids have no function; they're just there, and it's
that's the thing. It's kind of a system that just sort of.
But the thing is, right? So the thing is that you're I'm presuming that the message is supposed to be, this is what could happen to your family, and this is the kind of anxiety that you feel as a person with a wife and children in a house. You worry that this is going to happen. But the problem is that the game doesn't engender any sort of attachment to these 3 pixel people at all. They respawn every time you die. They respawn, and
there's almost an inconvenience.
That's it. So basically, they turn these 3 people who are supposed to be people that you care about into kind of vehicles for monetary gain, and it's just evil because all that ends up happening is that people come in and kill all of them for no good reason. And it really made me think this is just encouraging people to be fucking horrible. If that's the point, that's a shit point. Sorry, that's just not a very good message.
I'm more trying to spur discussion.
Yeah, but I just think
crap.
If it wasn't a good game.
No, that sounds. I don't mean.
And
I don't mean that in a way that's dismissive of debate. I just thought it was crap. I just thought I think it kind of was a sort of game for me that made me feel like he kind of lucked out with his previous games having a cool message. I kind of thought maybe I just sort of thought this is very poorly put together, both as a game and as any form of message.
It's just horrible. It's a horrible thing. It doesn't. It has no redeeming quality. It's not even like a good video game.
Yeah, that's it. I bought it. I played it. I
didn't know it was a paid for thing.
Yeah.
I thought it was like a cool free indie thing.
No, it's not. It's not an experiment. It's a product, and it's a fucking irritating product as well because basically it's like. The way it works is just impossible.
Yeah, message irrespective, it's just horrible to play. Really
what I find interesting then, at least, is that you guys are talking about it with such you both look really angry right now.
It made me really upset.
But yeah, that's the thing. So rather than
it's honestly, and I know the thing is I think I bought it as early access to check it out when I was doing Indie Face at Video Gamer. And the thing is, I'm somebody I like to support the video games industry, and so I do my best. And I mean, these days it's mainly because I actually can't be asked with the constantly having to keep up with PRs and badger them, and they'd be badgering me. So I just prefer just to buy stuff a lot of the time. I just think it's easier. Fuck it. And then I'm supporting the industry. It's all good. But that was generally speaking, I will buy games, and even if I only play them for a few hours and then don't end up covering them or whatever, it's fine. I don't really have a problem with that. But that was one of the few games I've ever bought where I was actually annoyed I'd given him money because I just thought this is a shit game. And if you're trying to have some sort of clever message with it, it's a shit message.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
It's basically, it just came across as being something that was it was just really adolescent. It just felt like, when you get somebody who writes a really clever essay when they're 17 and they put the pen down and they go, and they switch back the long hair and they think they've just written the smartest thing in the world. It's just nah, this is shit.
That's the impression I got from
it. And it really annoyed me because I was at the time, I was I don't... And yeah, it was I think when I made a video about it or when I talked about it, it was kind of quite early. But actually, I think it was one of the few things I did for Indie Face, actually, where I ended up saying, I don't like this, I can't recommend it. Even though it wasn't, I was a bit lighter on it than I would have been because it was still a beta.
Still in progress.
But now it's out and now I've seen the full game. I think it's a fucking shit game.
I think I reviewed that for IGN and basically just wrote 1,000 words about why it was a horrible game. And a few people in the comments were like, oh, you've missed the point, you don't get it. I'm like, no, I do get it, I just think it's shit. I get it, and I think it's not very good.
Well, this is the thing, I guess, as a journalist, because it doesn't happen often in this industry, you're expected to respect just artistic intent or merit. You're expected to represent.
But
actually, as a critic, you're allowed to look at artistic intent and go, this does not succeed at what it tries to do.
Yeah, precisely.
How did we even get onto that? I haven't even talked about what I've been playing this week yet. How far are we into the podcast?
Tell us what you've been playing.
I started playing Hearthstone 2 days ago.
Oh.
I was fucking... I'm sorry. Why
No.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I
haven't started before.
I try and make such a big deal about how positive we try to be in this. I've just kicked something in the head for 10 minutes. I apologise. Carry on.
Sorry.
And on that note, we will try and... Yeah.
You know what? I'm not going to be a dick about this because there is so much to like about it. And so much of it is so well made.
Well, interestingly... Because I've played it for literally 2 evenings, and it was because we do these events with these people called I Am Arcade in Brighton, who do fighting game tournaments, and they had a Hearthstone tournament last night at the event that we did together.
Oh, cool!
I brought down Mario Tennis. They brought down a bunch of fighting games and Project M. It was a bit of a schism in the audience.
The Mario Tennis scene were furious.
They were. Yeah. They can't stand the sight of Ultimate Marvel.
They were throwing bottles at the fighting games.
Seriously.
They were a rough crowd, man.
The Nidhogg guys were just in the corner conspiring against the Smash Brothers guys. It was bad. It wasn't like that. But anyway, so they had a Hearthstone tournament, and I thought, you know what? Everyone keeps going on about it. I'm going to have a go at Hearthstone, and I feel like
a Hearthstone tournament. So can you play locally with Hearthstone?
I think so.
It
was a bring your own laptop deal.
Okay, and then you add each other on friends lists, and then
presume,
you play...
Yeah, I presume. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so.
But it was a bring your own laptop deal, so I thought I'd give it a go. And so I did the typical noob thing of getting through tutorials, thinking, "Oh, pretty good at this. I was pretty good at this."
Oh yeah, like Blizzard are good at that though. You make you feel very powerful in these tutorials.
Yeah, and then you go straight into playing other people, and it's like, why does everybody have these amazing cars? What even is that? I want that. And I actually found it so far very dispiriting because everyone just has better cards than me.
Well,
I know it's because I've been playing it for 2 days, but still.
So what I'm going to say, right, very quickly, the Blitz version of this is that Hearthstone is a phenomenal user experience, right? Just from everything from opening the cards to playing the card, putting a card down, it bursts and things explodes. The people who do that are just overwhelmingly talented. But here's the thing. Collectible card games in the 90s were, a big deal, but the thing and the direction that collectible games are moving within the analog scene where I work in the noughties is like Fantasy Flight is doing a lot of work with what they call their living card games, or other people are copying that with expandable card games. And what that is rather than buying boosters, you get expansions, like set expansions, like the way that DLC works. And the idea is if you want to partake in the ecosystem of this card game, then you're going to buy all the cards. And the way the cards are meant to work is there are no rares, there are no powerfuls, everything is just meant to expand the game laterally and strategically. So the problem with going back to Hearthstone, which does have essentially shinies, is it feels super regressive, and while they have done, shinies aren't technically, statistically that much better than the regular cards, they're just different. It still means that...
You want the shiny.
Yeah, and it means that you can't own everything, and it means that to build a good deck, you want to blow like X numbers of like £30, £25
They've got to make money, haven't they?
They do, and money is fine, but how much more fun... Like the card games I play, and the reason that I roll my eyes with everyone
I think that's the thing, is basically like getting involved more strongly in the kind of board game and card game scene. You do realise it's trying to move... It's like... a lot of games now have started to emulate board games and card games because they realise that they're just really fun. And
there are lots of ideas to steal,
and there are lots of people, lots of gamers who are getting to our age who are like maybe don't have as much time to play games, and they want stuff that you don't have to become like fucking Superman Jesus, like stuff like Call of Duty. It's just like, you know what, I don't have the neurons for that anymore. I did.
I drank them away.
My neurons are gone. I had them 7 years ago, but they've all been replaced with these fuckers.
Watching the International, and they're like, the movie that Valve put out, which I didn't really like, by the way, about the International.
I didn't watch it.
I don't think it's worth watching necessarily, but it did have a line of like basically esports players start degrading when they hit like 22.
Yeah, of course they do.
And it's just like, oh god, I'm 27. I thought I was young, but actually I'm probably
in our world. I mean, this is always hilarious to my. So my partner's 41 years old, and so I'm 26. So this is hilarious to his friends always, because people that my friends and people I work with are always going on about being old at like 28.
I'm ancient. I'm crumbling.
But they don't understand that in our world we are old. Like in the games world we are genuinely old.
I hadn't thought about it like that. Yeah, it does make you feel older quicker.
But in the real world we're really young. And so it's always hilarious to
in the digital realm we beyond.
Ancient beings. What were you saying?
I am a treant in the computer.
To say my true name would take 3 of your human years.
But you may call me Greyface.
Greyface at hotmail.com.
Yeah, that's really generous. At Yahoo.
Yeah, you were talking about games that we play, board games, stealing from board
Yeah,
games.
well, I think it's the fact that video games have started to borrow from board games and card games because video games have gone shit. Games have become so trigger finger, fast paced
Insular.
that a lot of people who like games and like the game mechanics, we can just use these things and become. And I mean, I've said this before, but that's kind of what XCOM is. XCOM's kind of an interactive board game with aliens. It's fucking mint. But I think if you get to that point where you've never been that good at games, or you get to that point where you think I used to be good at games, but fuck me, I'll never be good at them again. Not like I was. And it's almost depressing. It's like sending out a retired footballer and being like, go and play for Real Madrid for a day.
I mean, Hearthstone is so close to just perfection. The idea of a card game you play with your friends, play online, the tournament mode, gold, in-game currency, it's all so perfect, but the actual game itself, a friend
Does
of
it
mine...
just not go deep enough?
Well, a friend of mine who plays Magic competitively is Hearthstone is the first 50% of a card game and lacks all the latter expert game 50%. And
I think that's fine though. There's a lot of people who don't need the other 50%.
that is okay, but... I'm
feeling intimidated just by looking at it as complex as it is, which I understand is not as... I used to play Magic when I was a teenager, and I used to play Pokémon TCG.
Yes.
Regional champion in Pokemon TCG.
Really?
Oh, really?
When I was 12, yeah.
I guess it's just that...
Had all the shiny.
If you look at the card games which I play as a connoisseur, it's you can give, for example, in Netrunner or in Magic even, new players brilliant decks, and it's much harder to even win with them. In the same way, it's hard to win in poker, but with Hearthstone, there are some decks which are just powerful, and it's a case of building those decks and getting money to build those decks and then nerfing those decks and tweaking those decks. And it's less about creativity, it's less about at the table play, and that's just disappointing. So
I can definitely see that. As a person who's played about 30 games of it, I
didn't mean you to come on
I can kind of already see that happen. One of the things that's interesting about Hearthstone is I'm looking at it now and thinking, is this worth 50 hours of my life? Because that's what I'm looking at with this, and I'm not sure it is.
I think the thing is, and I'm kind of on the same page with Quinns, and I think it's just because we are exposed, because it's a card game, and we are exposed to card games.
An awful lot of card games.
A lot more.
Quite many.
And so it's not it's not a bad game, it's just one of those things where it just feels very regressive. And it's the sort of thing where if it was released as a physical thing, which was probably going to happen at some point, let's be honest.
Well, I was looking at the way it's designed, and I had a big argument with a friend. One of those drunken arguments where you get really angry for no reason, but he was saying
alcohol.
Incidentally,
not as good as eggs.
Really interesting fact. With alcohol, up to about, depending on your tolerance, up to about 3 units sharpens you slightly.
Yeah.
So it sharpens your ability to make connections in your brain, and it sharpens your social skills. More than 3 units, down by 50-70%.
I think we were more than 3 units at this point.
Then it just ruins your ability to do anything.
He was making the same point about how Blizzard have got to release Hearthstone as a physical product, and I was like, that is just shit. Because first of all, Blizzard have no background in making physical games. Second of all, the market is so much smaller. And third of all, if you look at the way Hearthstone is designed, one of its strengths is that it uses the digital format hit points on creatures. Do you know how much of a pain in the arse that would be?
You have to have little gems,
You have to have counters, or you have to, or dice. It's... And
you're right, but
deal 3 damage randomly to 3 random minions.
Seriously, exactly, all of this stuff.
You're completely right, and that's the thing is, as a card game, it would be a pain in the dick. It wouldn't be much fun to play. But I do think that because Hearthstone is so big now, I think at some point, even if they
they could do an adaptation.
I think even if I don't think even them releasing it as a card game, expecting it to independently become a really popular.
You wouldn't get all the nice.
It'd be a collectible thing, I think.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
It'd
You'd
be more
just be buying your favourite
decks.
cards, like how you buy your World of Warcraft character now.
Yeah, it would basically be merch.
Yeah, that's fine. I can totally see that happening. But as a playable card game, I can see without the pretty shininess and all the little sound effects and stuff, I can not actually see myself enjoying it.
But I think it's just, as I say, it's just regressive. It's it's not bad. It's just you look at it and kind of go, come on, guys, it's 2014.
You know what was weird about a Pokemon trading card game? I played it when I was up to about 12. I have a Pokemon Sob-Story that explains what it is.
Because you're going to the Pokemon International Championships.
I'm going to the Pokemon International Championships in Washington.
Have you got to be the very best to get there? Or?
You do have to be the best there ever was.
Wow.
It is your
real
real
test. What about press passes? Does that get you in as well?
Gets you in as well.
Pokemon! Have you got the correct form to get into Washington?
Pokemon.
No, I'm destroying that.
Wait,
song.
what? Oh.
No, I'm not. No, I didn't press delete. I was just marking something. It's fine.
Incidentally,
I'm not destroying it that way. I'm just ending it. I'm not singing another verse.
Okay, all right.
Incidentally, one of the fun things about having a partner who's a lot older than you is the look that they give you when you do something like sing the whole Pokemon theme tune, and they're like, I was like 30 when that came out. Anyway,
you should have still been able to appreciate that it's badass.
It is badass. I realised because I'm trying to get his kid Spencer, who's 8, into the Pokemon anime because it's on Netflix. So
right, it does encourage nice things like being the best
there ever was.
Man, Pikachu, by the way, in the Pokemon cartoons and Ash's treatment of Pikachu, I always felt was kind of unhealthy because essentially you're keeping. I always saw. But
he wouldn't go in the ball. That was the thing about Pikachu.
Yeah,
that just made me feel bad about all the Pokemon that were in the balls.
Yeah, also, but the thing with me was Pikachu didn't want to evolve into Raichu. It's like, and Ash is like, it's okay to stay a kid forever, and it's kind of not.
No, but it is when you're 10. It is when you ruin the dream.
Well, also, if you watch
stop feeding that Pikachu a line of shit, bro.
I was saying that
fuck him up.
I put on that episode where I can't remember why this happens, but they're all in a cave and they're all really wet and they're like shivering and it's awful, and they just have little Charmander's little tail flame to keep them warm, and little Charmander's there with his little tail flame, and Ash and all his other ones are kind of warming their hands, and they're all like, "I love you guys," and I was like practically crying.
Dispenser.
I was like, "This is," and he's literally watching Minecraft videos on the tablet
I feel
as he watched this. I was like, "Oh, come on."
Pokemon is pretty slow now, even for a kids show.
It's just, do you know what? It's of my childhood.
Just I discovered this the other day. It's not related to games, although it does have fantastic stories. Like I rediscovered Jim Henson's The Storyteller, which is on Netflix. Apparently,
it's on Netflix, really?
And it's all on YouTube as well. But if you've never heard of it, I watched it the other day, and it stands up beautifully. It's still really good. I forgot it was all narrated by John Hurt. Brilliant.
TV recommendations for this then: Storyteller and Game Center CX.
Pokemon Championships.
You have a Sob-Story.
So when I was 9 and 10, I was...
You're already crying.
I am already crying. When I was 9, 10-ish, I was a proper Pokemon obsessive. Like I had... basically, when you had Pokemon Stadium on the 64, you could transfer your Pokemon from the Game Boy versions, and you could play an emulated version of the Pokemon games on your N64 at 10 times speed. So that was like...
I was actually putting my hand up to ask a question. There was a high five there.
There was a high five.
Is the way that transferring Pokemon works, you need a successive series of Nintendo... Like, if you wanted your Pokemon from the Game Boy on, like, the 3DS, do you need to, like, first transfer them to an N64 and then to something else and then to a...
This doesn't work anymore. Yeah. Like, now, basically, all the Pokemon have been normalized to 3DS generation. So you can get all the Pokemon.
So how would you get, like, a Squirtle or...
They exist in the 3DS games.
Yeah, no, I mean, but you do have to, for the original
ones,
you do have to transfer, across, it's mad.
So basically, the way that you trained when you were an obsessive Pokemon kid at that time was that you basically trained 4 or 5 Pokemon up to...
I was a cool Pokemon kid, thank you.
Yeah, I was an obsessive. So.
No, I had was obsessive as well, I'm just lying to myself.
Oh, fair enough.
Carry on.
You'd train 3 or 4 of the same Pokemon up to level 100 and then look at their respective stat bonuses and decide which was the best. So bear in mind, that's how much work you had to do to get a team of 6 that was an A team, right?
You didn't have to do that. You should have... it's all about the rare candy reset.
No. The rare candies were bad because they actually give you less of a stat boost than organic leveling.
Yeah, that's to do with the IV and EV. Wow! That's to do with the IV and EV. You use 10 rare candies to see the base ability of the Pokemon, and then you reset the game. Just so
I see.
You write them down. You level it up by 10 levels. You write down.
Don't you still lose the stat bonus from those first 10 levels though? Isn't that important?
No, because I had a little black book, right? I was like,
you guys realise that this makes you sound like the most creepy sort of eugenics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's like, I'll throw away this Pokemon because it's not strong enough. Its skull is too small.
I know. I don't know how I know so many things about it, but I do. But yeah, if you want to make the best Pokemon, and I only did this for like a couple, you what's wrong with me? And this was when I was like 17, 18. You use 10 rare candies, and that levels them up by 10 levels. I swear
this didn't used
to work. And then you write down... No, because you've saved it. You saved your game. You save the game.
Oh,
you use 10 rare candies. You write down numbers, and this is after you've been to the breeder, right? I've bred 20 Magikarp.
There weren't breeders in Red and Blue. That when they came in Gold and Silver.
Yeah, no, this was me in Gold and Silver.
Fair enough.
Or like not in the original, but yeah, like no, there were.
No, they weren't.
I want to hear Keza's Sob-Story.
Sorry. Anyway, I was a Pokemon nerd. So I had, I was in the regionals in Scotland. I did really, really well. And then my age category, which was 12 and under, I kind of swept through to the finals. There were like two rounds in the finals. I was doing super well. And So I was all ready for the regional final. I really wanted to be a Pokemon master. That was literally my dream. I was 9. And so I thought, because I wanted to go, because I think the finals were in Las Vegas or something, and it just seemed impossible.
Wow.
If I became Scottish regional champion, I could do the nationals and I could go to Las Vegas. So this was I was obsessed with this happening. And so the night before the regionals, I loaded all my Pokemon up onto my red cartridge, ready to go. And I left it in the Game Boy, ready to go for the morning. And so I woke up in the morning and I got out and my brother was sitting there playing the Game Boy. And I was like, what are you doing? And he was like, I just started Pokemon again. And I was like, you restarted Pokemon? And he was like, yeah, just new save file. And I was like, but my hundreds and hundreds of hours worth of my A team and my B team and my C team.
How old was your brother?
He was my age as well. He's my stepbrother. He was 9 also. And although he could be a bastard, I'm still not quite sure. I don't think he did it deliberately.
I've got a question.
But
are you sure Team Rocket weren't involved?
He was an envoy. But my Pokemon were gone. And so I had this moment of just utter devastation where I realised that
I'm not saying anything. I'm just shattered.
It was awful.
I'm not even being facetious here.
It was. You can imagine how bad that was. It was like.
I mean, this was a thing that children these days don't appreciate. Right now,
how much work it took.
Now it's like, hey, which profile are you on? Okay,
exactly.
Welcome, Matt. You've got 4 save files, all for you.
Here's your.
Whereas some games back in the day, one save file on one cartridge.
So my teams were gone. And I put not only had I put my A team, I put my A team, my B team, my C team in case I needed to change up tactics. So all of my
everything.
All of my 18 best Pokemon were gone.
So many good Pokemon died that day.
I only had my D team left.
They were only doing their job.
You didn't still compete with the D team.
I competed with the D team and I went out in the first round and I didn't play Pokemon again for 10 years.
I'm so sorry. I can't hug you because there's a microphone in the way, but I feel like I need to.
It was awful. The next Pokemon game I played was Black and White, 13 years later, maybe?
That's brutal. That is genuinely...
It's terrible. So I'm going to the Pokemon Championships on my birthday this year, and at the back of my mind there's going to be, I could have been me. It could have been me.
I remember...
I just couldn't I never played it again. I couldn't bring myself to do it.
Steve, another of the Daft Souls collective, increasingly... He went to the UK Championship
for Kotaku,
for you guys, and I remember because obviously I chat to him on GChat a lot. I remember him turning up in the morning and just being like, "I'm just in a I'm in a room just full of upset children." It was just I think in the end he actually found it he kind of enjoyed it and found a lot about it that was quite nice, but I think at first it was just this is just a room of sadness.
I found that because I kept on with the trading card game, I kept on with that. And,
because your stepbrother didn't burn your card.
Of course, bastard. It's actually funny because I wrote this story in. So Steve wrote a story about the national championships, and in the comments I wrote this story that I just told. And my brother sent me a Facebook message just saying, "I'm so sorry. Wow. You're never going to forgive me, are you?"
In the comments.
Yeah.
That's cute.
It was brilliant. But yeah, so when Steve went, it reminded me of when I was about 17. I hadn't played any Pokemon in all this time.
I like the idea is you go, I can't go.
Why, Keza? I just can't.
Keza, you're the editor of a website. You need to go. I can't. All right. God damn it.
You don't understand.
Can't do it.
You don't understand. So when Steve went, it reminded me of when in the trading card game, meets I used to go to, and the only people who play Pokemon trading card game were little children, kids who were about 17, 18 who were there for the first time.
Right.
And 30-something-year-old bearded men.
Wow.
Those were the 3 demographics. And so the 3 age categories were basically the teens, the little tiny children, and the bearded men. And the funny thing was, the kids minded much less. The kids they'd lost, they'd be like, whatever, they go run around. The bearded men would lose, and there'd be an argument for half an hour. And there'd be an arbiter. The further up the age groups you got, the more hardcore the arguments became, and the more the judges were needed. Steve told a story of just this little dude just kind of lip wobbling because he'd actually been kind of cheated he'd been cheated out of the win. He basically let the timer run down.
Yeah, it's a really good article actually. What should people search for to find it?
You find My Big Day Out at the Pokemon National Championships.
Yeah, it's a really good article. It's worth reading.
It's good fun. One kid had basically got cheated out of it, but it was still technically within the rules of the game, and I thought I would have cried. Don't care how old I was, I would have cried if I'd been cheated.
I didn't get into games when I was young, but I remember being at a fencing tournament and getting knocked out, and I was so upset. Because I wasn't very good at fencing, but I kind of thought it was this weird thing how it was like our school. I really lucked out. It was like they had like 10 people could do it, and it was proper like names in a hat. And it was like I just lucked out and got in.
But they always tell you when you're little that you're amazing at everything, and then you actually turn up in any kind of competitive environment and find out that you're not the specialist snowflake. It's actually quite traumatic.
It was at the age when like it was a split gender competition. Mm-hmm. So it's like everyone. No, it wasn't split. Sorry, it was sort of both genders mixed. That's the word I was looking for. And I remember there's this girl. It was like an American movie. There was this girl called Rhea, but everyone called her Rhino because it was like she was amazing. She just charged at you and she just won. And she was just so. And we saw her fencing. And we're like, we must have been about like I don't know. 12 or something, but we were like, oh my god, like, and I got
it's Rhino.
It was like
they say good. She doesn't eat.
Yeah, and then I don't think I got knocked out of the tournament by her, but I got knocked out by another girl. I think it was a girl who's in my class. She was really good as well. But it was that thing.
Girls good at fencing.
Yeah, they were good. They were really good. Because it's all. No, I was going to say that because it sounds like I'm making some sort of weird judgment. But anyway. Yeah, like
little girls are better than little boys at everything.
Well, I think
like measurably, little boys are practically retarded next to little girls. It's amazing.
It's hard to argue.
The other day in the playground, I was watching a bunch of kids, and there were 8-year-old girls who were in the corner. They invented some kind of really elaborate game with like rules. 2 of them were in a tree. 3 of them were at the other ends of the playground. They were all discussing how this was going to go down. And on the other side of the playground, there were 4 boys taking turns running into a wall.
It's hard to argue. And also, I think the thing is that the weird thing about fencing is like all the boys who did fencing wanted to do it because they wanted to be sword fighters. And so
the women just took the sport seriously.
It's like if you go into wanting to sword fight, you're going to be really shit at it because the weird thing about fencing is you don't really use your arm. Like it's all in your thumb and your forefinger and a bit of wrist, but it's mostly just that. It's basically like
you don't have to hack someone's head off, do you? You just have to poke them in
it's basically all about the point of the fact that because the blades are very thin and very light, you can deflect somebody's attack very easily with a very minimal movement, and so it's all about having like a very, very specific control. It's all about staying very calm.
Game of Thrones water dancing.
Yeah, it is. It is a bit.
There is a YouTube video that I will put on after this finishes where 3 Japanese Olympic fencers take on 50 amateur fencers.
Oh, wow.
And that is the greatest.
That sounds amazing.
There is actually another one where 2 Japanese, the national football team, take on 100 kids.
Oh.
And that's beautiful.
I just imagine them punching people now. I said that, just 3 footballers battering hundreds of kids.
Not at football, they just took them on.
Taking on, yeah. Like, come on, you fucking stupid kids. I'm going to beat the shit out of you. And that's wrong. Don't do that. So, anyway, now it's time for some questions. And in case you haven't worked out already, it's probably going to be a longer podcast than usual. But fill your boots. You might not get one sometimes.
Ever again, maybe. If something awful happens.
You'll probably get some. You'll probably get some from another place because me and Quinn are actually off to America quite soon for shut up and sit down stuff.
Yeah, we're going to Gen Con, home of Gens.
So we'll probably end up doing another podcast with us guys purely on the basis of we will be the only people within my vicinity.
Are you going by any chance on the 16th and 17th of August when the Pokemon Championships are also in America? Because we could totally meet up in America.
You want to fly from Washington to Indiana?
I'm sure it's not that far.
Yeah, it's a small place. We can get a bus.
Yeah.
Come on. You're welcome to come and find us. I'll leave it at that. Okay, so first up, Rich Woodward. This is an interesting one because I know that we're split on this a bit, but please argue about which Fallout, New Vegas or 3 is better for a bit. Thanks.
New Vegas.
Neither of them.
Shut up.
The thing is, like I know that Quinn's just doesn't like the new Fallout games, and I'm kind of like the thing was I didn't want to like them because I'm such a devout fan of Fallout 2 that I really didn't see how they were ever going to bring back the spirit of that game. And to be honest,
I think New Vegas did.
They didn't. Well, New Vegas did, and that's why I like New Vegas. Yeah. Because Fallout 3 I liked as something very different. But New Vegas, and more importantly, the expansions, Old World Blues, I always say this Old World Blues is fucking amazing. Really did bring it back.
I think I would go as far as to say I didn't particularly like Fallout 3. I thought it was okay. Vegas, though.
I got obsessed with it. I played it a lot.
I played it for 40 hours and I just didn't particularly enjoy myself.
That's the thing is like that we still played. It's the weird thing about video games.
I was a student, so I had time to play it for 40 hours and not particularly like it. But I wanted to like it so much because I remember when it was announced, I was there when it was announced and I was like, oh my god, Fallout's coming back, and my voice did that.
Yeah.
And
my voice did that.
Yeah, and so I wanted to love it so much because it was Bethesda as well and I loved Oblivion, so I thought, but I didn't know then that you get one Bethesda game. You get one that you love, and then everyone after that is a pale imitation of the
No,
one?
I liked Morrowind and I liked Skyrim. I think Morrowind's better, but I still really like Skyrim.
Oh, that's cool. Maybe it alternates. You didn't like Oblivion?
No.
Ah, interesting.
Oblivion was full of weird horse-faced people.
I liked Oblivion
like
loads,
it.
but that's because it was my first Bethesda game and I'd never played anything like it before.
I had a great experience playing Oblivion at my mate Pete Wilson's at uni. He just got an Xbox 360 and it was quite new. And I remember playing, and I was just running down a hill, throwing fireballs at wolves, and it was just so beautiful. both visually and as a moment.
But the Fallout New Vegas, I think New Vegas itself is the most Fallout thing that's ever appeared in any of the games so far. I think New Vegas.
Wait, what?
I think New Vegas is emblematic of Fallout as a concept, as a thing.
Do you mean you're not saying that Fallout New Vegas is more Fallout than Fallout?
The actual town of New Vegas, that bit,
No.
that for me is Fallout in a nutshell. That town, the broken down casinos that are still being clung onto as some kind of emblem of success.
All right, well, I've tugged myself
Fallout
into infinity over Fallout in the past. So I'm very much interested. Like, tell me why you don't like.
Were you a fan of the first two?
So what, the first two Fallout games?
Yeah.
Yeah, I adored them. People think I don't like New Vegas because of my legendary RPS review where I slagged it off. But I also don't like Fallout 3. I think Fallout 3 and New Vegas both... It's not I think, it's I feel. It's subjective, right? Those games both felt incredibly cheap to me. I didn't like the art direction. I didn't like the writing. I didn't like the combat.
You didn't like the writing from Black Isle?
I didn't like the characters. Yeah.
The Obsidian
I hated
writing.
the writing in New Vegas.
Oh, that's...
I really, really did. And like, honestly, that's entirely subjective. It all felt very obvious to me. It felt clunky. Like, even the voice acting, I can't stand all of the Bethesda games voice acting I really dislike. And
the thing is, I think the thing I found about New Vegas was I didn't really enjoy it for a long time. I didn't enjoy it for about 6-7 hours. I thought the start was really horribly artificially trying to push me through a chain of events so I would be like equipped to them.
I mean, yeah, the start is really linear, but then it opens up and I still didn't.
It wasn't the main story I liked. I like the side bits.
Yeah, but the Fallout for me has always been about that. Like, it wasn't... You didn't play Fallout 1 or 2 because you wanted to get the water chip. You played it because of all the other stuff. And so here's the thing. Fallout 3, right? The first thing it does is put you in a town. And so Fallout is fantastic. The original two, grey choices. It's a world where nothing is good and there are no right options.
That's for me what defined it. And then
but then 3, the first thing it does is go, here's a town. Do you want to nuke it? Or do you want to not nuke it?
Well, for me,
that's a very difficult decision.
Yeah, that's not a Fallout choice for me.
It's not.
Nuke it or don't. So that's stupid.
It was basically him showing off, being like, you can nuke a town.
Yeah, that kind of ruined... I mean, that set the tone for Fallout 3 for me. The rest of the game very much followed that kind of... And it didn't preserve the greyness.
It was very much the end of the magazine era, being like, people can have a box out. You can make choices in this game. You can choose to nuke a town.
Yeah.
And I guarantee most magazine articles previewing that would have put that as a box out.
I thought that was shit compared to the original Fallouts, where it was like, do you want to kill this child or kill its mother, basically. But the thing about New Vegas is I just thought that it had the spirit of it, right? And it was chunky as all hell, but I really did think
the spirit was
recaptured
close, but honestly...
It wasn't the same. Like, it's not as good as the first.
And it really annoys me, this is one of the annoying things about DLC things, is it's just like, I really wish that, like, you could just get people to play New Vegas Old World Blues as a standalone thing.
Can you?
I don't think you can, no. I think it's one of those things where you probably have to be a certain level to get the most out of it, and it was just brilliant. It was just so good. Like, the writing was really strong, the voice acting was brilliant. One of the main characters in it was an insane computer who used to be a human who put his brain into a jar along with loads of other people. They all basically, the idea is they were scientists who decided the only way to preserve themselves was to put their brains into jars and basically have screens for their faces. But they've clearly not been human for so long that they've all kind of forgotten what it was like being human. And so when they turn up, this guy's berating you and terrified of you. It's like, what do you want? Penis hand creature? Like, it's got 10 penises wobbling around in front of me, like, because they think your fingers are just like knobs. And it's really silly and weird, but it kind of holds together this idea that they've forgotten they haven't seen a human for so long, they've just forgotten what they are.
That's good.
But the one who's saying these lines is the guy who used to voice Brain from Pinky and the Brain. So it's just perfect. And it's just like, all the characters you meet in it, the voice acting's amazing. You have this brilliant, like, sinister toaster, and I've probably told Santa loads, but he's a toaster who wants to burn the world. And it's quite a simple joke, but it's basically the fact that he's obsessed with wanting to burn the joke, and he's just like, all you need to do is plug me into a nuclear reactor, and you're just like, no, mate, like, there aren't really any of them about anymore. But he's just like, he's obsessed with, like, he's just plugged into a wall and he's a talking toaster, but all he wants to do is burn the world. And clearly,
that's a good joke.
All he can do is burn things, but he just doesn't have the energy, and he's just desperate for it.
But it's that whole Fallout faded glamour, like everything's shit, but what we cling to is the shittest.
Fallout was never about faded glamour. It was never about glamour.
No, it totally wasn't. The whole thing was like, look at what America is now. This is what America. All that stuff, all that 50s like glamour stuff became. That it was the destruction of that idea that defined Fallout. Like if you look at all the I love going into houses in Fallout and just seeing all the kind of old stuff.
For me, they were all
the
about
kind of beautiful clothes in the wardrobes and stuff, but it's all just fucked now and it's all pointless. That's why I like New Vegas so much as a place, because it was like emblematic of old America, Vegas, and it was just like, look what it is now, and people still think.
For me, growing up, like in my early teens, though, Fallout 2 was my favourite game for so many years. I think up until the day I discovered Planescape Torment. Even though I
still haven't played that,
It took me weeks to get into it, though. To be honest, first few hours of playing Planescape, I was actually like, oh, I wish I hadn't bought this. This is crap.
I've had that installed on my computer for about 6 years. And
it's a lot of work, but it's great. But Fallout for me was all about the dark humour. I liked other aspects of it, but really, the plot, especially in Fallout 2, the plot was kind of shonky and had some kind of crazy shit going on.
See, now Fallout 2 has my favourite plot element in all of the Fallout games, which is the vault that worked. I forget which vault it is, but you go to one of the vaults and it functions. Like it's got a town around it and it's got a farm and it's everything that your vault.
Oh, Vault City.
Vault City, yeah. And you go and then there's no joke. It's just a tyrannical place because they've built, I think.
Because they're the only people who had resources. Yeah, they're assholes because they're like, oh, we're fine. Let's build walls and make sure that the people outside
which led to a kind of like secondary slave class. But like for me, this is the thing. Fallout had jokes, but this is the thing that probably you can maybe understand what pushed me away from New Vegas. Fallout 2 for me was about that, and it was about sleeping with a girl and then her dad coming in with a shotgun and saying, you have to get married now. But that wasn't, like, there weren't any jokes in that. Like, it's funny for it to happen, but it was just really dark. And like,
there was that kind of thing happening in Vegas.
Not as much, though.
Not as much. Yeah, not as much.
I do have my one funny New Vegas story is that when I was reviewing it, I had like whatever Supreme £90 Super Collector's Vault Edition, and you meant to start with all this gear, and I didn't. But then I was hiking through the desert, and I was playing at the midnight when the servers turned on, middle of nowhere, and suddenly this thing comes up saying you're encumbered. Like, what? And I've got 800 pounds of bullshit in my backpack. And I'm in the middle of the desert, so it's like, what am I going to leave? I'm never going to find it again. And having to drop like a plasma rifle and power armor and all this stuff.
Oh my God, that's
on
amazing.
The spot. And then go, well, bye, and leave, and walk off.
Oh, that's beautiful.
But I think, that you just reminded me of Vault City was like, I think Vault City for me playing Fallout 2 was like really changed the way I thought about games in a way, because I remember the thing is you were like, well, I'm the hero, okay, everywhere you go, it's like sometimes you have a hard time at first, people are like, who the hell are you? And you're like, oh, I'm this guy, pew, pew, and everyone's like, hey, you're a good guy. Like, it's like, so far, like, there's some sort of karma. Even if the people you're working for are bad people, you do a good job, you prove that you're a good person, you prove that you're trustworthy, people will look after you, people will respect you. Then you get to Vault City and you go in and they only let you in temporarily because you're from outside.
Yeah, you get like a sort of visa basically.
And you want to go and check their vault records just to see if they've got something.
Oh yeah,
they're like, you're not going anywhere near our vault.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, why not? I just want to check something. I just want to check database. And they're like, no. And then you're like, well, is there any way I could do it? And they're like, oh yeah, actually, there's a power reactor next to us, but it's like loads of ghouls live there. Oh, he's going to kill all the ghouls?
Yeah.
No, they didn't say that. That was the thing. They said, oh no, what was it? They wanted you. Some of the ghouls were going crazy, and it was a few layers deep. You could investigate, and you could do something quite difficult to try and fix their reactor so the ghouls wouldn't go mad.
No, because they weren't happy with that, and I remember that was what was so fucking mental.
You got to at this point, you may not have met any ghouls, and you get there and you find out the ghouls are people that also have have like a society, and
they talk to you and they've got character.
Yeah, and then you're like, oh shit, because you think they're going to be zombies, but they're not. They're people. That was one of the coolest.
Yeah, but then it's the fact. I'm pretty sure she just tells you like they want control of the nuclear power, so they want you to get rid of the ghouls. And
that was it. They wanted the power plant. Yeah,
they want the power plant, so you need to get rid of the ghouls, and they basically want them gone. And I remember how amazing that game was, and the fact that there was a way that yes, you could repair the power plant and make it so the ghouls had like clean energy, and that the people from Vault City could have clean energy as well. And the woman in charge of Vault City was just like, the look she gave you.
She was furious.
She was furious because she told you to go and kill these things. And the fact that you hadn't done it, even though you come back being like, hey, I found a solution that works for everyone. She was like, get out.
Yeah.
And that was it.
And that's the thing, it didn't actually give you the thing you
No, it didn't.
No, you didn't get the thing you wanted.
You didn't get the thing. So you'd done what you felt like was the video game thing of like, hey, cool, like, it's please both parties. But because you hadn't done what you'd been told to do, she just said, get out.
Fallout was like that all over.
It was like...
There were so many situations where you'd be sent to do something or you'd do something and you'd expect one outcome and it would give you a completely different
Just
outcome.
having characters who are genuine dicks, like having everyone's had that. Everyone's had that boss where like you've like, hey, I've done the job you told me to, and actually I've done it slightly better. Like, so it'll be better for all of us in the future. And they're like, why have you done that? You're like,
why didn't you do it in the exact way I
specified?
specified?
Well, because actually from now on it's going to be better for everyone. It'll be better for you, better for me.
It gets in the way.
And they're just like. They treat it as being that you've undermined their authority.
Well, Fallout 1 on that has...
And having characters like that is like, it's awesome.
Incidentally, Wasteland 2, how excited are we all about that? Because
should be great.
That is the next Fallout.
And as I talked about, I think I talked about Divinity last time, and the fact that it's like, it's really tickled me back and being like, yeah, I love these games. I can't wait. I know that we're going to get some probably really good ones quite soon. It's like,
Wasteland's gonna be
no way, it's going to be amazing. But yeah, I think I do agree with you that I think I kind of enjoyed Fallout 3 as something else. And I think because I'd never got into a Bethesda game before, I think that was the one I got really into.
Yeah. I mean, again, the ultra bleak ending of Fallout 1 again kind of defines things for me, which I won't spoil in case people play, but the ending of Fallout 1 is like, probably certainly my top 5 games endings ever.
Yeah.
And that, yeah. Which again, I can't say anything without spoiling, but if you haven't played Fallout 1 or 2 and can stomach it,
buy Fallout 1 and 2 from Good Old Games. They're really cheap and they're just as good now as they were. I played them in 2007. And they were just as good as they would have been.
Fallout 2 is like, it's quite hard work in a way because of the interface now is just so archaic.
It takes some getting used to.
But I mean, the whole Vault City thing is pretty amazing. I remember I played through that a lot. I played that probably 4 or 5 times. And I remember in one of my playthroughs, I just murdered everyone in Vault City because I hated them so much.
Yeah, by that point.
I hated them. And even though I knew there were good people in that city, people I liked, I didn't care.
I remember the Fallout.
I was just like, you people don't deserve to be alive anymore.
I remember Fallout 1 rolling up to Junktown or whatever that first town was called.
Shady Sands or something.
Yeah, something like that. And I remember just shooting someone and then everybody in the town turned against me. And
yeah,
I was like,
funny
shit.
That.
And then I went out and went in again and they were still angry. And I was like, oh, this is how this is going to go.
It's like it makes me, that's why Walking Dead makes me laugh of like, they will remember that. Fallout, they remembered your face.
But Bethesda doesn't do that. That's one thing Bethesda doesn't do. Like, if you leave a town and come back, everyone's like, hey, how you doing? They don't remember.
Bethesda doesn't do an awful lot, and they do some things exceptionally well.
I'm just still thinking about...
You're just on a exciting...
I'm just still thinking about Fallout. I'm still thinking about Fallout 2.
Tell you what, as far as endings go, the question you mentioned earlier about, what was it, something to do with game endings?
Yes. William Norman asks, does the end of a game matter, or is it the journey there?
See, now I only bring this up because I tell you what, Brothers, which I finished recently, is a game where the ending justifies the entire game.
Really
I still haven't played that. It's
honestly, Brendan...
It's not worth ruining, but it's...
No, I don't want to hear about it. Yeah.
I cried. It's so much crying.
I cry at everything, so...
you will cry so much at Brothers, honestly. And
I played it with one half of a controller. Me and my partner, so you have one stick each, one half of the controller each. Yeah. It was very nice.
That's funny.
He didn't cry. I was just weeping alone.
Oh, what I was going to say is one of the things I've noticed about Divinity that's just straight up dumb is the fact that if you piss off guards in the town, it's not like in old games where like everyone in the town wants to kill you. It's just the guards in that area. But you can't like apologise. Or you can't just be like, I'll go to jail. Like sometimes you get a thing dialogue where it's like you just sort of go, yep, I'll go to jail. Sometimes like you just do something bad. Like I was trying to smash in a door and I got caught and I just ran away and thought, oh, that's fine. No, they still want to kill me. You just have to kill them all. And it's really dark. You're just like, yeah, I'm just gonna kill these people. And I had a quest that went wrong that I needed that quest to be complete to get another quest. And so I basically just I was like, well, the game isn't giving me anything to do this. I'm just going to murder this person and then everyone else in the area, and then just move on along my merry way. And it's just like it's kind of funny old game stuff.
I would love to know
why are you making me do this?
What age it is that people stop doing the thing of just killing everybody and like.
I never did that. I was not allowed violent games as a child. I think this is why. I never kill things unless I absolutely have to in games.
I ended up. I did that a lot in Fallout 2, but mainly because I wanted to know what items people had.
Just level up steel.
Yeah, but sometimes it's just easier just to shoot somebody in the face.
And of course, steel lets you do the classic Fallout thing of putting dynamite in their pocket.
Yeah, that was really funny. I still think my example of what, like, when I tried to explain to people, and this is no longer true, which is kind of exciting. It used to be for a long period. It was like games aren't as interesting as they used to be because graphical fidelity has made them kind of dull and made them like you have to show everything now. You have to have a cutscene for everything. So it just means the actual design just gets scaled right back. But I remember in Fallout 2, just being able to like you could pick the lock of a building and lock them in. So you could lock all these people in the building so they couldn't get out, and then just stand back, throw some grenades through the window, and then just stand back with a sniper rifle and just shoot them all while they just can't get out of the building.
You are not a nice person in Fallout.
No, but I was very good.
That's probably the Fallout way.
The thing about Fallout was you had to be so ruthless because that early journey across the Mojave Desert, or not, it might not even been the Mojave at that point, I think it was. The early journey you had to make from, I can't remember what it's called, the shitty town full of junkies. No, that was the first Fallout. I'm talking about Fallout 2.
Oh,
it was like the slums or something, and it had to go from there to Vault City.
Oh yeah, that was a long journey.
And it was a long
journey. Saves.
And like most of the time you get killed. Like most of the time I had to restart the whole game because I'd just get killed during that because you weren't tough enough and well.
It was so scary to cross land.
It was really frightening.
Yeah.
That's whenever you saw what were they called, Deathclaw. You just be like, oh, run off the screen, run off the screen.
Run, fuck.
Hope it doesn't get you.
It was just brutal. But I just love the fact that it kind of forced you.
I'm trying to take one on with a pistol the first time I saw it. I was like, fuck you.
Bad idea, yeah.
And pinged off its skin. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, time to run. But I just love the fact that it was that thing of being like, you ended up, because I had to restart the game so many times because I failed, you ended up just being so ruthless. You ended up just being like, you would just fuck people over as much as you could.
Aim for the eyes.
To get the most money.
Always aim for the eyes.
Because if you didn't go across, and it was that nice thing of being like, you've got a long way through a desert. It's like, if you try and do that without some armor and a good gun, and then potentially a couple of like people who are quite strong, who are maybe, it doesn't matter if they die, you're going to die. And it was like, that was kind of cool. Anyway,
talking about endings.
Oh,
some games are defined by their endings. But
so what was the exact wording of the question?
The exact wording of the question was, does the end of a game matter or is it the journey there?
Well, that's a silly question because it depends on the design of the game.
What I will say is I've just talked about Fallout 2 for ages and I've never actually completed that game.
Haven't you? Interesting.
I think it was bugged on my computer and there was a door I needed to open at the end of the game and I couldn't, it wasn't there.
I think many of my favourite games I haven't finished actually, I would say. Not the short ones, but the longer ones. I never finished Oblivion, but only because I did get bugged in Oblivion. Actually, I got bugged in New Vegas and couldn't start again.
Ties back into what I was saying earlier about the length of games being kind of fabricated for kids, and they used to be harder games. They used to be short but hard games. And that was because we couldn't put that much of a game on a disc or within the code. But now we can. So they go, well, we don't need to make it that hard. We just make it really big.
Yeah. And
it does feel like it's very hard to carve an interesting narrative arc, because really what we're talking about here is story,
yeah, I didn't finish Dark Souls for years because the experience of reviewing it ruined it forever for me. But the games like Gone Home or Brothers, other shorter ones, do tend to be, if you played Gone Home and didn't see the end, then you wouldn't get most of it.
I kind of feel like if you're going to have a game which is a narrative payoff, like at the end, where it's like, it's got to be quite short.
I have a really strange habit with video games in general where I will get about, I would say, 4/5 through the game and then just leave it. Like, I'll be 2 hours from the end and then I'll just leave it forever. I did this with Far Cry 3. I did it with all the Mass Effect games.
Oh, then you missed the narrative payoff of Far Cry 3.
I watched it on YouTube later.
Oh, mental. I'm not. We won't spoil it in case you want to play it, but it's fucking nuts.
Yeah.
I got bored of that game after I'd killed all the animals.
I actually finished that game by hand, classic old school style. That was fine.
I honestly Far Cry 3.
I was on the last mission of that, and I was just like, I don't want games to end, so I just stopped playing them.
I know it makes Planet Evil, but I'd loved it. I would have loved it if they just did Far Cry 4. Doesn't really have a story. It's just like you got to kill all these animals and make loads of things with them. Like it's like Minecraft with meat. I would have loved that. I know it sounds wrong, but the only thing
basically every fantasy game ever. It's basically Monster Hunter, actually.
I got so into doing the hunting, and then I realised I'd done all the hunting, and I was like barely done any of the story.
I did that too,
you've unlocked
actually.
Everything.
But I also liked setting fire to the pirate camps, so that got me through.
I like arson as well. Everyone likes arson.
Everyone likes
Far Cry 2 3 justified itself to me with that mission.
I think I've got the clap. constant pirate talk.
Where you have to attack the weed fields and you have to burn them down. And of course,
I think
that's the most preposterous mission.
No, but it was the best.
It was preposterous,
but for me, it was the only mission that actually got what that game was doing because the game is absurd.
Yeah.
And so, like, let's give you an absurd mission that's actually
trying to self-justify a bit, that game.
I don't.
Far Cry 3 is one of the few games I stopped playing because I hated the characters so much.
He wasn't a character. He was nothing.
The only character in that game I liked was Vaz, and as soon as Vaz was dead, I lost interest in it completely.
Kirk Hamilton's written a really nice thing on how Vaz was meant to be the main character. He believes that after Vaz stabs you in the beginning of at the end of Act 1, you're meant to sort of become Vaz and not realise who you are and all this stuff. And that the plot just got jangled up in development.
Well, I don't even know if Vaz did die in my game. I just worked out he was going to and just lost interest because I was just like, I did the first flashback, and when they were on the bar going, "Oh, for my drink to my father's gold card," I was just like, "Fuck this!"
But that's the whole point. The point was they were supposed to be disgusting.
I know, but I can't.
Well, I mean, it's weird because that game has this weird thing where it is completely absurd, but it doesn't embrace it. It tries to self-justify all the extreme
weirdness. What do you mean
weirdness.
self-justify?
So, have you ever read any of the interviews with the guy who wrote it?
No.
He was basically saying the whole game was a parody of itself. And I was like, you should have just left it being what it... I don't think it actually really works.
Was that, and it was a shit game.
Yeah, it does. Well, I think that Far Cry 3 was really, really good and enjoyable. But the fact is, you're supposed to be playing basically a colonialist white arsehole power fantasy dude.
Yeah.
And that's fine until you start over-explaining it and being like, but actually it's a criticism.
I don't think it's fine.
It's not a criticism. It's definitely not a criticism.
Well, it's also
an empowerment thing.
I mean, these things don't exist in a vacuum. If you're playing like a white... power fantasy arsehole, that's fine, except, games are already that entirely, so if you do that, you're going to have a really tough time.
But I think, again, the guy was trying to say, yes, but we were aware of all of that, and that we were building it into it, and I'm like, I'm not sure you were. I mean, maybe you were.
Or they've done that classic thing of, like, thinking that their audience is somebody different.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, like, that it's like making something for an audience that doesn't actually exist to the degree that you think it does. Or maybe the audience does exist, but they're not going to be people who are going to buy and love your game.
I really did love Far Cry 3 though.
Despite
all of that,
I enjoyed Far Cry 3.
Far Cry 3.
I kind of wish it wouldn't have done a narrative because the narrative just annoyed me. And it's not I don't like stories. It was just the fact it's like I got to a bit where it was like, you get the girl and she's staying in the doctor's crazy drug doctor's house.
Man, I really like that. That doctor was.
He was cool.
Wait, how can you say he wasn't better than Vaz?
He was fabulous. That guy, the twitching in his.
I liked him. But
the fact that he was just clearly baked and he's been in a house.
No, he'd fried his house. Fried his brain completely over the course of years.
I like that. Great. But it was the fact that it was like you then just went and talked to it was either your sister or your girlfriend or I don't fucking remember. And she's like, this island's changing you. Like, no, it isn't. It's like, dude, we just punched a shark to death. For no reason. This island has definitely changed.
If you see Far Cry as very self-aware, then it kind of works.
But that's an argument that you can make for anything.
Yeah, that's fair. That's completely fair. It's an excuse, really.
I wish it would choose. I mean, the thing that annoyed me is it's like Far Cry 3 was a really awesome mechanical system, but a really shit story. Whereas Far Cry 2 was a really frustrating mechanical system with a fucking amazing story.
I love the mechanics in Far. What didn't you like about Far Cry 2's mechanics? Oh, this is the difference.
It's the classic. It's just the respawning thing. It was the game was too big. It wasn't like I had a major beef with it. It was just the fact that the game was already a very large game, and adding it so that the checkpoints respawned full of people all the time. It just meant that when you got to the point where you felt like you wanted to accelerate the narrative and you kind of think I'm bored of this bit, I want to move on now. It didn't allow you to do that because you just try and drive somewhere and you get blown up by rocket launchers and stuff.
Yeah, the thing that I ended up playing a different kind of Far Cry 2 because I was playing it on Infamous, which is the hardest difficulty setting, and at that point the checkpoints just become regular levels because you can't drive through them. If you want to get through a checkpoint, you either go around it or you have to stop.
Well, that was kind of true.
But once you killed them, they come back, didn't they?
Yeah, but they kept coming back after you destroyed it.
I think they did patch that out eventually.
I remember.
I think they patched that out eventually.
Well, anyway, I just remember I liked having to take malaria medication while hiding behind a waist-high bit of cover.
I kind of liked all that stuff, but I played it for 15 hours, got to the second chapter, and I kind of felt like I was done with it.
I
wanted to keep playing, but it was
ending's good in that as well.
I saw the new map, and I was
wait, what?
The ending of Far Cry 2 was good.
Oh, I didn't like that at all.
Oh, really? Let's not ruin it.
Anyway, we have blown considerably. We've blown the doors right off of this podcast.
Wow.
For about an hour and a half, but that's fine.
Bloody hell.
We didn't ask.
We should get together more often.
Yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it. We have some other questions about stuff. You didn't have a chance to talk about Inazuma 11 that we'll talk about at some point, because it sounds like it's football, but people kick balls at speed of light and get hidden in mist. And I don't like football, but I like both of those things. I've been playing the Destiny beta. I think it's actually fucking amazing, and I'm really excited about it. And for the first time in years, I felt like an entitled gamer in the fact that I got to the end of the beta and thought, what? But I want to play more. What? I was genuinely annoyed. I was like, I don't want to wait. I don't want to wait a month and a half, you pricks. So we'll talk about that. And you had something else you want to talk about as well, didn't you?
I was talking about Divinity. Yeah.
But I'm still playing Divinity, and we'll definitely talk about that again in the future, because it's fucking interesting. But anyway, thank you very much for joining us as ever. And thanks again to our sponsor, Eggs, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, everybody. Bye. Eggs.